Hi, everyone, and welcome. I am joined today by one of the world's most famous global investors, the great Jim Rogers. And yeah, for full disclosure, I'm a huge fan. So we
Well,
actually
thank
spoke.
you, Glenn.
We
Glenn,
we
I
spoke.
am delighted to be here. I'm your fan too, so good.
Thank you very much. The last time we spoke, not long ago, but nonetheless, the world has still changed immensely over the past few months, and again, the world economy is under great strain, and I guess the political uncertainties adds to this. But what are you making of the I guess the big news of the bad shape of the stock market?
Well, the U.S. stock market has been going up for the longest in American history without a big problem. So we're overdue. History would tell us that we're overdue for a problem in America, and it looks like it's coming. As I repeat, we have never had such a long period in American history without a big problem. So it is time, and it looks like it's going to come.
Why haven't there been a why hasn't there been a correction so far? Why has it gone on for so long?
Well, mainly because the central bank has printed huge amounts of money. They keep printing money and they keep spending the money because they think that that's a way to keep their jobs. If they can keep everybody happy, they will keep their job. And they don't care about you and me, they care about their job. So they're going to do their best to keep their job.
So, do you have any great hot tips in terms of what do you buy and what do you sell?
Well, I have sold all of my American shares. I don't own shares, many. I only own shares now in China and Uzbekistan. I have sold shares all over the world because this has happened in many places. And when everybody is happy, it usually is time to get worried. And at the moment, all over the world, people are happy. So that makes me worry.
So you're into currencies at the moment then, or are you
I'm
staying?
mainly in US dollars, and I own US dollars because when people get worried, they usually turn to a safe haven. And many people in the world think the US dollar is a safe haven. It's not, but people think it is for historic reasons. So I own US dollars, mainly.
What are the fundamentals though in the United States? What is wrong with the economy? Why are you more bearish on this market?
Well, the US is the largest economy in the world and has had a very, very long period of prosperity because the central bank has printed huge amounts of money and it continues to print money and spend money and borrow money. And that makes, at least for a while, that makes people feel good and they feel good about the stock market, the American stock market.
And the recession we seem to be walking into, is it
Well,
do you
if
see?
you ask me, yes, we are walking into a recession. History would indicate that. And if you ask me, it's going to be the worst in our lifetime because the debt is so unbelievably high now. I mean, every year, even now, every year, Washington increases the debt by amazing amounts. They continue to increase the debt higher and higher. Nobody seems to care except me. Nobody, not many other people seem to care about what's happening, but I care a lot because I know it has always led to problems in the past.
Well, I guess with this huge debt, the go-to solution always appears to be the interest rates to lower it. But with this high debt, with high interest rates, the debts are very expensive to be serviced. But if the interest rates are reduced, wouldn't that put a lot of pressure on the dollar? What are the main tools that the Federal Reserve has in its toolbox at this point in time?
Well, the Federal Reserve always has interest rates. They can raise them or lower them. They usually lower them because that's all they know. they don't know much else to do. And so they lower interest rates to make everybody feel good. And when people feel good, they usually put the money in markets. And that's been going on for several years now. As I said, we in America, we have had the longest period without a problem in our history. And that is going to lead to more problems, if you ask me.
But President Trump is pursuing this very, I guess, aggressive budget cuts, but also using tariffs as his, again, favorite tool in his toolbox. Well, do you see any chance of him being successful towards, well, what he wants to achieve or to turn things around, or is it not really?
Well, as I said before, it's the longest period in American history without a problem. That says to me that a problem is coming. Whether Mr. Trump is the smartest president in history, it doesn't matter. History, I think history is smarter than Mr. Trump and smarter than me, and we're going to have problems.
Fair enough. But the tariffs, do you support this approach, or do you? I mean, it's often seen as a way to, yeah, defend national industries and yeah, protect them, but also to, yeah, renegotiate America's position vis-a-vis other countries. Are you?
Well, tariffs have never been good, except maybe temporarily, for any country in history, for any economy in history. Yes, maybe you have a short period of help for an industry or a country, but it's never lasted very long. I mean, tariffs are not good. My reading of history would indicate that tariffs have never been good for anybody for very long.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it appears he's aiming a bit. Well, he seems to be very emulate a lot of the efforts from the American system of the 19th century. That is, yeah, this, I guess, aggressive use of tariffs in order to reindustrialize. But yeah, I guess the world is more complicated now with more complex supply chains. Should we see any links between the recession now and these tariffs, or not really?
Well, the recession is coming, whatever causes it. Whether if somebody wants to say it's tariffs, I would agree with them. Tariffs usually do cause problems eventually, except for maybe a short time for a few industries or a few countries. No, these tariffs are going to make the recession worse.
So if a recession is coming to the US, where do you buy and sell in the rest of the world? Are you optimistic about any regions?
I have sold out everywhere except China and Uzbekistan because nearly everybody is doing well. And whenever that has happened in the past, it has often led to problems. Everybody cannot be happy all the time. Well, maybe they can be, but it doesn't last very long. So I would suspect we're going to have a recession soon, and it probably will be very serious because it's been so long without a problem.
What is the source of optimism though with China? Is it mostly the technological development? Is it the growing financial independence from the US? What are your measurements, I guess?
Well, it's everything you just said. I mean, China has been a fairly long time without a big problem. And look, China can have problems too. Don't get me wrong. I do own my Chinese shares still because I would expect that they will do better when the recession comes because they have not had recessions recently. And I mean, who knows? Who knows? China can have problems too. But I still own my Chinese shares because they're not as expensive as other countries. And I hope, well, we'll see. You can ask me next month, next year. But at the moment, I still own my Chinese shares.
How about India? Whenever I talk to some Indian ambassadors, either they're very optimistic or they're very pessimistic. But where do you see the direction of their economy?
Well, I'm optimistic about the Indian stock market. I don't own it because it's making all-time highs. But for the first time in my life, the people in Delhi, in the capital, seem to understand that prosperity is good, that success is good. You know, all of those Nehru, Gandhi, all of those people said they thought prosperity was good, but they never really believed it. They didn't like for people to get rich. they, they just wanted to win elections. But now the people in Delhi, in the capital, it seems to me, understand economics. They understand that prosperity is good for a country. And I actually believe them for the first time in my life. They seem to have, somebody has taught Indian politicians how the world works. I don't own shares. I don't own them because I sold too soon and they're making all-time highs. I don't want to buy, I don't like buying anything at all-time highs.
How about Russia? On one hand, they do have economic growth, but there's also a war which brings insecurity and unpredictability. I see in Russia they tend to paint a very rosy picture that again their economy is growing and it shows to have a lot more resilience than many had expected. In Europe, however, we appear to still wait for this imminent collapse of Russia for the past 30 years. Well, what do you see as being the more realistic picture of the direction of the Russian economy as it seeks to decouple more from the West and reorient to the East?
Well, I'm an American, so I cannot own Russian shares right now because of the war. I wish I could. I would like to own Russian shares. I do think the Russia of the old days is gone. Mr. Putin, I'm not suggesting he's smart or anything. I'm just suggesting he understands better and he's trying to do things better in Russia than old Russian politicians. But there's nothing I can do because I'm an American.
If you could get into the market, the Russian market, would you buy technology, agriculture? What areas of the economy are you most optimistic about?
Well, I would look at whatever's cheapest, and I don't know. I haven't looked because I cannot do anything there. But I would try to find what's cheap. Probably agriculture now is probably very cheap in Russia, but I would look to see what's the cheapest, and I do not know.
And I guess, yeah, where I reside in Europe, there's not much optimism anymore. But, I guess it looks as if many of the key economies, be it Germany, the UK, France, a lot of them have different problems, most of them related to debt and I guess lack of competitiveness. Do you see anything worthwhile buying in Europe, or how do you see the economic future of the old continent?
Well, just to pick up on what you said, the debt problem that the world faces is going to be huge because the debts everywhere have gone up so very, very high. Not just America, where it's the worst, but it's happening in many countries around the world. And I am afraid we're going to have a very serious problem in the markets in the investment markets in the future because there's so much debt. The debt is unbelievably high and going higher all the time. And not many people seem to care. I care, but nobody else cares.
The British, though, Prime Minister Starmer tends to be criticized for not paying any attention, or at least not a lot of attention, to the economy. Do you see the British being, I guess, in a uniquely poor situation, or do they have a good possibility for recovering from this?
I don't see many people having a good possibility of recovering when the next recession comes because it's going to be worldwide and the debt worldwide is so very, very high. So yes, Britain will do better when they start recovering, but everybody will. But nobody is going to do really well. Maybe Uzbekistan, but nobody else in the future because the debt is very, very high everywhere. And when the recession comes, it's going to be partially fed by so much debt worldwide.
And well, Germany is going through both some economic and political problems. I guess they yeah they they're deindustrializing very quickly. They're having now removing all debt ceilings in terms of taking more investments, and they will borrow more money to buy weapons to, as the German chancellor said, they think that Russia has attacked all of Europe and they need to rearm with money they don't really have. Do you see any possible happy ending to this story, or what is the main? Or is it possible to guess have a militaristic Keynesianism, or is this just a dream?
Well, that has been a dream for many countries many times in history. You obviously know what history shows. Many people, many politicians in history have turned around and spent money on weapons to help revive the economy, and it often works. If you spend a lot of money on anything, it helps an economy, including weapons. And the Germans have done it in the past, the Americans, the British, everybody. And it's happening again.
Just say you mentioned a few times Uzbekistan as the main with China as their main. What is it that you're looking at? Why is Uzbekistan performing so well in your opinion?
Well, Uzbekistan at times has been extremely prosperous in history. I don't know if you remember Tamerlane. Tamer was a great conqueror. He conquered lots of the world. Then he went lame, and so he became known as Tamerlane because he was lame. Uh, but he and Uzbekistan were extremely prosperous, successful, conquered lots of the world, including, I mean, they were about to invade Japan, and a typhoon came and blew them away. But Mr. Tamerlane was very successful at times. In fact, when he died, they put on his tomb, he was buried in Uzbekistan, it said, "Here lies Tamerlane, and if anybody disturbs his tomb, it will bring chaos to the world." The Russians took over Uzbekistan in the 20s, and the day the Russian archaeologists in 1941 went into Tamerlane's tomb to see what was there, that was the day Hitler invaded Germany. I mean, Hitler invaded Russia. So Mr. Tamerlane was right again. You know, the Russians disturbed his tomb, and it brought chaos. It brought Hitler to invade Russia. So Tamerlane and Uzbekistan have been very successful in the past. And in my view, they will be again. The people running the country now would run the country the way I or you would run the country. They're trying to build up manufacturing and prosperity again. And they know what needs to be done, and they're trying to do it after being under the Soviet Union for many, many decades. Things are now changing, and they have lots of natural resources, lots of manufacturing ability. They know what they're doing, and they're trying to do it.
Yeah, there's the stories of Tamerlane has been very well preserved in the Russian popular culture as well. In movies like Dnevnoy Dozor, they have always the the great conquerors. I think it has created a very strong, I guess, myth making in Russia as well. My final question though is just about North Korea, because the last time you spoke, you said you wish you could invest in North Korea. Has any of your views changed in terms of the economic possibilities or the future?
First of all, there's nothing I can do because I am American. So, but I still would like to invest in North Korea. North Korea has a lot of cheap, educated labor, lots of resources, natural resources, and manufacturing resources. I think it can be successful. The problem is Americans and other people cannot do anything in North Korea because it's North Korea. But I would certainly like to if I could.
Just before you go, can I ask what can regular people do as we enter this? As you called it, the worst recession in your lifetime. What can regular people do to preserve their wealth?
Well, first of all, regular people should not invest in anything unless they themselves know a lot about it. Don't listen to anybody, including me. Stay only with what you yourself know a lot about, because probably the next recession is going to be very bad because there's so much debt in the world. So I beg you, please only invest in what you yourself know a lot about and be very careful. Do not listen to hot tips from anybody. Just stay with what you know, because the next recession is going to be very bad. And if things start going wrong and you don't know why you own something, you'll be in worse shape. So just stay with what you know and you will probably be okay.
Jim Rogers, thank you so much for your time. I very much appreciate it.
It's my pleasure always. I like doing this with you. Thank you.
Thank you.